Memory like an elephant, duly noted. I don't think I'll be tweeting at Clay or about Clay anytime soon, Kurt. But it's interesting because you think about motivation. When you are around the league, what do you think about like all these guys like live tweeting games? Because it's like one of the most favorite parts, at least in NBA Twitter, right? Is other like Trae Young weighing in on playoff games or John Morant tweeting. What do you think about all that?
It's really interesting. That's been a breakthrough of the wall that used to kind of be between players and fans that way, right? Like, because NBA Twitter is a thing. It is truly an interactive place, even with conversations on Instagram and everything else. Like, that place is still a conversation. LeBron is tweeting about finals games. All these players are watching each other and commenting, and fans are getting involved. It's a really fascinating thing, but look, there's a lot of guys out there trying to troll, right? There's a lot of people out there sending those messages, and it's fuel for these guys who use it right. Clay's one of those guys who's like, he's had 2 years to read all that stuff. And by the way, came out and had a good series, like 17 points a game. Shot 30, I think it was 35.8%. Kind of the shot isn't back. He's not all the way back. But I'll tell you what he did. He defended Corey. And that's the other thing was, we talked about, Tatum struggling to play in space and in crowds. They forced him left, away from his strong right hand. They didn't let him go right like he wants. They forced him into crowds. They made him be a playmaker. They made him do it every time. They were very consistent, except for that little 12-2 run for the first 2 minutes. We're like, we let him go right? What happened? Yeah. Steve Kerr brought it up the second. But their ability, again, to be consistent on that end, to be on a string defensively, really, their ability to get out and recover and be in guys' faces was so impressive. And to use their athleticism, but to use it wisely and play a really high IQ defense. They just Thompson was in the middle of that, and that was something, again, that consistency, that poise, that championship medal, that whatever you want to call it, that the Warriors could up their game and keep doing it and keep being consistent and persistent through this whole thing. You just didn't get that with the Celtics yet.
Yeah, and it's funny because Clay, it seems as though he and Andrew Wiggins are like both Scottie Pippins for Steph. Yeah. It's kind of like both of them are these wiry, long guys, great defenders. Andrew Wiggins is basically flushes anything around the rim, anything around the hoop. It's like, look out, he's going to come out of nowhere like a cat and flush it. And then Clay, of course, one of the best defenders in the game. And then Draymond Green is kind of like their Dennis Rodman in the sense of, just I gotta get you whatever you need, like kind of guy. So I think it's a really interesting trio / now with Andrew Wiggins. It looks like we have a quartet. Does that work? Like a violin quartet or something? It's the Bay. But I'm curious though, Steph Curry, if you had to rank him, and you and I, we don't always go into rankings. I think each person has their own space. I think it's kind of like Apex Predators where, everyone's a killer, so it doesn't matter. Just choose your way to die. But if you had to rank Steph Curry, where does he sit now that he has a Finals MVP and 4 championships?
John Morant tweeted out today. I don't know if you saw this. Tweeted out Curry's top 5 all time now. I don't know if I can get there, man. I don't know if I could get top 5 with him. Sorry, John. Look, my top 5: LeBron. In no particular order, LeBron, Jordan, Magic, Kareem are my top 4. Like, I don't know who I'm putting 5th. I don't know that it's Curry though. When you think about the Duncan Robinson, probably not Duncan Robinson yet. The Tim Duncans, the Oscar Robertsons, the Larry Birds, the Bill Russells, the Jerry West. We go on down the line of where you put guys. Kobe, but I think now. I think Curry has to be top 10. I think he's got to be in the 9-10 range. And like I said, I don't necessarily have this list formalized in my head. But you're talking about just the resume of the 4 rings and two MVPs, one of them unanimous, a bunch of All-Star games, whole bunch of All-NBA, all that stuff. But you know what else, Corey? When you put that resume together, you know what goes at the very top line of the resume? Best shooter ever. And when you're the best shooter ever in a sport where the goal is to put the ball in the basket, like you're way up the ladder, man.
Yeah, it's crazy because like we don't ever like. I grew up in a basketball family. My dad's David Robinson, so I spent a lot of time like studying history of the game and just listening to conversations of my dad and his peers, his colleagues. And there are so many great scorers. Like there are so many great shooters. So it's amazing to me. Like you look at a guy like Alex English, pure stroke. Oh my goodness, right? You look at a guy like Pete Maravich, who would score at will, right? You look at a guy like Jerry West. This is crazy. He was averaging 38 points if you round up in the 1969 NBA Finals, right, where he won the Finals MVP and they lost in Game 7. He scored 38 points on average without a three-point line. This was like a decade before the three-point line. So I was thinking to myself, Curry was averaging like 34 and a half maybe, right, this series, and he was shooting 7 threes. He was making 7 threes a game. I couldn't even fathom, like, if Jerry West had a three-point line, what would happen? Yeah. So there's all these things that I think are really interesting when you talk about the top 10, top 5, top 15 conversation. And this is why, to me, it's always kind of like it's a hard conversation to have because of that, and because of this idea, well, there are like the best shooters off a screen. There are the best shooters off a dribble. There are the best shooters, like if I had to get a shot off, and I'm going like in the history of NBA, if I had to get a shot off, I'm going Larry Bird. There's just no doubt in my mind. If I needed a bucket, I'm going Larry Bird over everybody else who played basketball. So like there's different elements, and I loved hearing like Ray Allen and Reggie Miller discuss this concept during early in the season when Steph was on that way to break their records, and they were like, yeah, we always like have conversations about like, okay, what's your footwork off a screen and who are the best shooters in different disciplines. There's not just one greatest shooter ever. So anyways, that's a little bit of a philosophical drive, but you got to my point is I think it's a lot more nuanced, but Steph is definitely up there.
By the way, the best part of having Larry Bird on that list and Larry Bird taking your last shot is after he shoots it over you and makes it, because I mean he was 6'9", had that release, that Dirk Nowitzki like high release over his head. Yeah. He'd tell you about it all the way down the court, wouldn't he? He would let you know all about it. I'll tell you, I think, though, what makes Curry special is, like you said, there are guys who are great off the bounce. There are guys who are great coming off screens. There's catch-and-shoot guys. Curry is probably the best amalgamation of good at everything. Like, he is not bad at one aspect. Like, he can create his own shot or just catch and shoot or come off the dribble handoff. And, by the way, and I think you saw this in this game, Game 6, really underrated finisher at the rim. Like his ability to use his length and score, absorb the contact and get his arm out and get the angles he needs to score at the rim are insane.
It's so beautiful. To me, I'm like an art guy. When I actually had to like really stop myself. I was on my couch watching this, and I just like grabbed the remote and I saw him do this finger roll that was George Gervin-esque, and I was thinking, why am I just now seeing this? Like I can't believe that. I feel like I was just not giving him the credit he deserved. I mean, he's doing George Gervin type stuff, right? Like around the rim. And I always thought Kyrie Irving's one of the best finishers in the game, as far as guards are concerned. But and Ja Morant is up there too, right? Like, so I was thinking Kyrie, Ja, and I just forgot about Steph. And I think in this Game 6, you saw like there was that possession too defensively where we kind of forget about how good of a defender Steph can be as well. Jason Tatum was trying to back him down. He ends up, making a turnover, forcing a turnover. Excuse me. He ends up forcing the ball out of bounds. Boston then keeps the possession. They missed the shot. So effectively, you're thinking, okay, it's a clean slate when it could have been Jason Tatum on the block with Steph Curry, one-on-one. That's a pretty good defensive outcome, right? So like, I feel like we saw a little bit of everything you mentioned, the amalgamation. We saw him, Draymond Green gave him that right off the screen, that dribble handoff pass. What a great highlight that was. We saw him shooting threes, by the logo in transition. We saw every aspect of Steph Curry, the George Gervin finger roll, and all of it was ice cold. So yes, I think you're right. All together, it's hard to beat what he brings to the table, which propels him up that list.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.